Okay, SP parts are finally here, at least a small batch of them. So I know I've got a lot of questions, and I am going to put these up for sale at discount here pretty soon, but I wanted to make a quick video to show the assemblies and some of the little nuances with it. So I'll try to build this really quick, and so I'm not going to use any aftermarket screen. I'm going to use just the original OEM screen, and actually I'll just show that. So the OEM screen fits, this screen fits, and the biggest one, this one fits. So this is, I think, the newest one they have out, I believe. That fits almost I mean, it's almost line to line. It has me a little bit worried because if they get some screens that are a little bit bigger than others, then it may not fit. Always a struggle with aftermarket parts. I don't control the tolerances on their parts. I don't know what their tolerances are on their parts, so I try to leave a little bit of room because I'd rather have a little bit of room than not have something fit at all. Same goes with buttons. So I do have my own buttons, but one of the biggest contributing factors to how the buttons feel, how they, if they rattle, or at the other end, if they're fully depressed, right? There's a very small amount of stroke in the A and B buttons, so I'm hoping to get some input from everybody on what silicone you're using, where'd you buy them from is important to know. You know, retro modding is a good source for parts. Handheld Legend is another source for parts. Let me know, you know, if you do end up purchasing these, let me know which silicones you're using, if they're OEM, if they are I think there's a couple different versions. You know, some of them are glow in the dark, let's say, and I think those use a slightly different durometer rubber, so those will feel different. Let me know what buttons you have if you don't purchase my metal buttons. If you have plastic buttons, that would be helpful. Of course, what screen you have, and oh, a big one. So the hinge that you use. So that's even more of a challenge than the buttons, because that fit has to be just right. You kind of almost want it to be a slight press fit, but not really. So it's tricky. You know, I don't want people using a press to press in their hinges, but I also don't want these to slide in and then you have a whole bunch of slop and a floppy hinge, and it's a fine line. So let me know which hinges you have specifically that you're putting in there. As of right now, I don't have hinge caps that are going to be available, so you'll have to reuse them, paint them possibly. Maybe that's something I can look into at some point. But you're not going to get it assembled like this. I already put these in, so these are used hinges. They work great, they're fine, they're OEM. And I just don't have any hinge caps on them, the little plastic slide-on pieces. So what you will get this piece, you get your rear housing, of course, your battery cover, your ribbon cable, flex cable cover piece thingy, and then the rear LCD housing. So this is two pieces. The reason why I did that, I could have just made it one piece. The reason, my intent behind that is, I kind of thought it'd be neat to, because this is a simple part, this could be cut from acrylic. This could be made out of wood. I actually have parts or material to try to some of these things. So, excuse me. So this could be swapped out easily because the fasteners are on the outside and give it a completely different look. Or if you wanted to try some crazy laser etching and then later on you don't like it, you could, you know, you're not buying a whole new set. I'll try to make these at some point available for sale individually. So I think that's pretty much, well, getting into the parts you'll need, you can kind of see. So tool wise, it should be pretty simple. Most of them are Phillips, except for the 4 fasteners that attach these. These are going to be internal hex. I think this is 1.5 millimeter hex size, so it's really small. That should be it. And you're going to get 3 different fastener sizes. So you're going to get some really tiny short ones. I think these are M1.7, I believe. They're really short. So, and those go to the PCB. Those hold the PCB board in, and they hold the battery cover, and I think that's it. 1, 2, 3, yeah. And then you'll get some longer ones. So these are, these might be M2s. I'm trying to tell. They're either M2s or 1.7, but they're obviously much longer than the small ones. So these go on your 4 corners. So these are going to hold your front and rear housing together. And then last are the 4 fasteners that hold this on. So the sandwiches, this and this to this, just like that. So those are going to be your hex. They hold those on. Let's just start building. So I will start. There's probably a million different ways to do this. You know what? I haven't built hinged SPs hardly at all, ever. Taken apart quite a few, but it's because I've done unhinged. So you might know a better way, and I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. So put my screen in. That just fits like that. That goes in like that. And if I do any video editing, I'll fast forward through watching me attach fasteners. So again, these are the hex, internal hex fasteners. So I'm not tightening them, I'm just starting them. Some general rules, I think I mentioned this in another video I made, and I try to put warnings everywhere, right? General rules about, these are machine screws. So machine screws are not like plastite screws. Plastite screws create their own threads as you're threading them. So if you're an experienced builder, you get that feel of what it feels like to put in a metal screw into some plastic parts. This is not like that. The feel is completely different. If you start feeling resistance, I mean, of course, when it's almost right there at the bottom, you're going to feel some resistance, but you should not feel resistance until that last bit, and even then, you're just going to put a tiny bit of torque. I can't put a torque spec on these. I wish I could. It would be fractions of an inch-pound. I mean, it's small, or foot-pound, inch-pound. Okay, so screen's in, and then we have our cover. It just covers the flex cable. So this one I'll use a Phillips, one of the short little ones. Okay. All right. I almost forgot. So I have these short little light pipes now. Let's see if they fit. I'm putting on my magnifiers. That's how bad my eyes are. Okay. It fits. Good. Done. All right. Am I forgetting anything? Probably is. Okay. Buttons. These are labeled. This might be the first time I ever had the buttons actually A and B put on there. It's really small, but I'm gonna start and select. I don't even think you can tell. There's a little boxy guy on there. Put the light or the brightness adjust button, and then put on your silicone pieces. Again, let me know which ones you are using, please. There's going to be some that work well and some that don't work as well. I can't make them all work, unfortunately. So there's going to be some compromise there. This is fun. I'm gonna have to modify a build fixture for this because I don't think it really is all that useful on this build. Okay. I think that's in. So now the shortest fastener. Housing's going to press down. Housing's going to press down on here. It's extremely rigid. So now you could, what you can do is you can put your, when you put your triggers in, you can put these in, install your springs, and that'll create tension when you put your spring in. That'll hold in your pin, all that, your triggers, buttons. But just to save time, I'm just gonna leave out the springs. They don't actually provide much force. What they do is they kind of prevent rattle more than anything. What am I doing? Sometimes it's weird. Sometimes when you're working on CAD so much, when you get the parts in your mind, everything's sometimes backwards and the other way, and then when you get them in your hands, it's confusing me sometimes. Okay, power switch. You can try putting it in here. Sometimes I have better luck seeing if it'll stay in here in the top part. But either way, just be careful. You don't want to break that off, that little power switch stem. If you're putting it together and it's in the on position when this is in the off position, and you go to force it, it could snap it off. So make sure those are lined up. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so again, I'm leaving the springs out. Save a couple of minutes. So got the power switch on. Making sure everything's okay. Looks good. So now I go to the longest fasteners that are longest Phillips fasteners. And again, I just start them, all of them. I mean, it's good practice for anything when you got multiple fasteners. Get them all started. And then I always hold it together. So you're doing the work of pulling the parts together. And in that case, if you see, I'm barely even, there's hardly any force. And then when it hits bottom, you know it. And then just a tiny bit. Okay. So you've probably noticed that I only have a stock battery, unlike the other unhinged version that I have. I may make a whole new rear housing. I also may make some additional module maybe, but it's something I'm thinking about. So that's it. So to me, the combination of these buttons and these are old used silicone. Feels a little looser than I'd like, but that's most likely due to the silicone just being worn and probably thin. And that's it. So one last thing, almost forgot again. So I had these cut, and I'll include these. So these are just some silicone with some 3M. I forgot what adhesive I spec'd out, but it's a pretty good adhesive. I'm not good. I don't like the fit. I don't like how the durometer is just too low. So I mean, feel free to trim it and make it work for you. You know, over time, if you're slamming it shut, you're probably going to see something here eventually. These were actually shipped like this, and they didn't put any padding between these parts, and they were fine, at least in that short amount of time. So again, that's why they're going to be kind of discounted, because some of these little nuances. But yeah, open to suggestions, ideas, and definitely any little tweaks that I need to make, and you know, that you think I need to make, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. Because sometimes the things that are done for a reason. For example, the screens, right? They move around because I'm trying to fit a whole bunch of different screens in there, and or same with buttons, and that's just the nature of the beast with aftermarket parts. So anyway, that's it for now.